Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Cohen, and today I'm going to talk about common wrong answer traps on SAT critical reading. Now, what counts as a wrong answer for the SAT might not always seem intuitive, and so the more practice you do, and this is why it's so important to take, real-timed practice tests, the more you're going to start to see what counts as a wrong answer. You're going to start to think like the test makers more and more, and you'll be able to more quickly, pick apart right from wrong answers. Whenever you work through a critical reading question, make sure to look at all the answer choices, and when you identify a wrong answer, cross it out. So you'll just get left with one or two answers to choose from. And you narrow it down as you go. And the reason you want to do this is an answer can seem correct, but there might be one little hidden thing that makes it wrong. So it's really important to look at all the answer choices before you move on to the next question. So these are the most common wrong answer traps on the test. The first, all the time, the answer is too extreme. If you have two answers, they both seem right. The one that's less extreme is usually always going to be right. Avoid really extreme choices. Another one concerns vocabulary and context questions. These are the questions that ask about a vocab word that shows up in a passage, and they ask what it means. So the meaning is usually never going to be the most common definition of that word, or the literal definition of that word. If they ask about a word in the passage, they will provide the normal definition of that word as an answer choice, pretty much always wrong. The definition, the way it's used in the passage, it's normally going to be a secondary or less well-known definition of the word, or the word is going to be used figuratively, metaphorically, not literally. By the way, this is the opposite of what happens on sentence completion vocab questions. On these vocab questions, the ones that come at the start of a reading section, and they're not drawn from the passage, it's usually the most literal or most common definition of the word that is the one that's being used. Another pretty common wrong answer. The author's attitude is indifferent or unconcerned. If the author takes the time to sit down and write a whole article or book about something, they're pretty much never indifferent toward it. Now, they might feel negatively toward it. They might not like it. But it doesn't mean they're indifferent or unconcerned. They care enough to talk about it. Here's another. The answer choice will mention something in the passage. There'll be words from the passage. It'll be something the passage said is true. But that choice doesn't accurately answer the question. It doesn't really respond to the question being asked. So they're hoping you'll see the choice and recognize something in the answer choice from the passage. Say, oh yeah, they do talk about this thing in the passage, and they want you to choose it. But that's often wrong. It's make sure if it's something from the passage that thing really answers the specific question being asked. Another common wrong answer is that the answer uses some sort of kind of technical-esque language to talk about or to describe the passage. It'll say, for instance, that the passage contains, let's say, scholarly analysis, or a historical catalog, or a detailed chronology. And these are usually wrong because the passage has to really contain that thing. If it says it contains a detailed chronology, there can't just be one date in the passage. There have to be a lot of dates. There has to be really a whole list of different events and when they happened in detail. So these types of kind of technical-esque passage descriptions are usually wrong. Sometimes the answer choice is completely correct, except for a small word or phrase that makes the whole thing wrong. I like to call these sleeper phrases. They're hidden, they're hoping you don't see them, so read very carefully. Again, this is why it pays to read every answer choice before moving on. You might realize that another choice is better, and there's a sleeper phrase hidden in the one you thought was correct. Another very common one is where the passage talks about a pretty specific topic, The answer choice will say that the passage talks about a topic that's related but way too broad. The answer takes that specific topic and makes it much more broad and general than it is. So maybe the passage is about banks in Georgia in the 1920s. The answer says the passage is about the US monetary system. Okay, kind of related to banks in Georgia in the 1920s, but not really banks in Georgia in the 1920s. So you see, they take something specific in the passage and they make it much more general and broad than it really is. Okay, that's going to be wrong. They can also do the exact opposite. So they'll take, if the passage is about a broad topic, or any topic, they'll make the answer choice more specific than that topic warrants. So let's flip the example. Maybe the passage is about the US monetary system and banks in the United States. And maybe in one sentence, they briefly mentioned Georgia banks in the 20s, like in passing. But the passage as a whole is about the US monetary system. So a wrong answer choice would say the passage is about US banks in Georgia in the 1920s. Again, way too specific. And also, this is something that appeared in the passage, so you think it might be correct, but it doesn't really answer the question. This example has two common traps in one. The last common trap is the answer is the exact opposite of the correct answer. Now, these are usually pretty easy to spot, but it's good to be aware of them because you don't want to accidentally make a mistake and choose it because you're in a rush. If you found this video helpful, please like it, share it, or subscribe to the channel. All of those will help me reach more people looking for this type of content. Thanks.